was like, yeah, but
Regret with my Five Guys.
oh, absolutely. And then the next day, not the next day, yesterday when I was talking to her, I was like, yeah, but today I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna make a smoothie with kale and various fruits and almond milk and make a avocado toast on fried egg, and you just gotta balance it out. It's just like
I
eat
feel like
shit,
avocado would
eat
go really
healthy.
well with fried egg, and
Oh my God, dude, it was so good.
I'm recording here, so I do want to make it clear to our audience that I'm not a fan of the avocado in and of itself. I'm a fan of avocado with chicken or with steak or, as you just
Hmm.
said, with fried egg. Like, the avocado in and of itself is not good.
Appealing.
Yeah, like, you have to combine it with something that is already
Hmm.
appealing. Anyway,
Avocado on toast and fried egg is
welcome back to the second part of episode 9 of Great Scott Marcus. I'm Scott, and that one's
yes.
Mark. And in the second part of each of our episodes, we do a main topic instead of a ramble across multiple topics. We focus in on one topic, and this topic might come across as confusing in that graphic, fishy areas of combat. But for those of you who really keep up on your gaming names, this is a discussion over COD, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. So get it? Ha ha ha. Fishy areas of combat.
It
I'm so
confused me at
funny.
first, but now I kind of want fish and chips.
I wanted fish and chips on Friday,
Hmm.
but my stomach problem was acting up,
Yeah.
and so I went with a steak and broccoli. And that's actually something I wanted to ramble about a tiny bit. And
Right now, or should
si-
we ramble later?
well,
Ooh,
since we're still Ramble Entertainment, I reserved the right to ramble whenever.
that's a
So
valid point.
like this week has also been a week of appreciation, and we often talk about this. Like, we get that, we often like to really hone in on some honesty, and this week has really,
Hmm.
kind of just been like looking at my life, and like I did do the episode 7, the Just Scott No Marcus thing, where I talked about my situation, but one thing I think I didn't make clear, that I'm not trying to make clear, but just kind of reflects on,
Reiterate.
yeah, or not reiterate, but just kind of is a part of this week for me, is I've really been looking back, or looking at people around me and being like, yeah, like, pain sucks, but even still, like, I don't complain about my situation. I might talk about it and how it hasn't been pleasant, but
Hmm.
in God's honest truth, for somebody who's lived in pain for 3 years, I've lived a better life than majority of humans ever.
Yeah,
And
very true.
yeah, I've just been really reflecting on that, and I wanted to say it on a recording, so I did.
I thought it
Moving
said something
forward.
about broccoli.
Okay.
No, 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 no. But I
Oh.
think
Well,
no.
I was going to talk about how I had steak and broccoli dinner on Friday,
Okay,
and
yeah, yeah. Oh, I see
and
where
I
you're
was
coming from.
thinking about that, and I
Appreciate
was
that.
like, that's, yeah, I appreciated that I was able to even do that, because if I was like working while in pain, I probably wouldn't be even able to afford a nice dinner like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, just grabbed an Applebee's steak dinner with some broccoli and mashed, and brought it home, and like, again, I've just been appreciating a lot of things around me. Not that I don't typically, but
We're gonna-
it's been a weird week. Another weird week.
We'll have to do a food topic sometime soon.
Another one.
Yes. What was the other one that we did?
Burgers.
That's right.
That was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
That was like that is one of our best episodes so far. And the
Probably.
the sad thing is, it's like, it really isn't that pertinent to anything.
Nope.
So
Anyways,
we're going to talk about video games now. So typically we would do this on 0 frames per second, but Mark and I having such a relationship, based in Call of Duty and Battlefield.
pretty much started with Call of Duty.
It did.
It's like, oh, you play PlayStation. What do you play? Call of Duty. I've got that game. Let's play. That was kind of the start of it.
Hey, I mean, it evolved through a few mandates, and then
Oh, yeah.
and then one night you said, you should come over to my place, and there was some sweet magical lovemaking
Yeah.
through guns.
I hired Barry Manilow to sing for us in the kitchen. Yeah. But no, I mean, I want to say that was, I think, seriously, my first real experience with online gaming and online shooters was Modern Warfare 2. Because I believe I had the first Modern Warfare, but I played maybe, I don't know, an hour online multiplayer and I was like, fuck it.
Yeah,
And,
I
yeah, Modern Warfare 2 came out and we started gaming playing that, and it changed my life for for
when
the better.
when Modern Warfare came out, it was the very beginning of college for me, and people who were more developed mechanically just would push my shit in. And there
Yeah.
wasn't this huge variety of guns. There was a variety, but not huge. And it was just kind of like, okay, well, this is this. Okay, I get it. And for some reason, like, the formula in Modern Warfare 2 just clicked so much harder.
Hmm.
And I mean, I even recall, sitting down with you on so many nights and being like, "No, this is how you think in this kind of game."
Oh yeah,
Because
I was a running gunner like with the ACR, and like I would either break even or have a higher kill or death ratio than kill ratio. I've rarely ever had a higher kill ratio. I still struggle with that.
I mean, that's not something that everybody even has to perfect these days. But we'll
Right.
get into that in a second because that actually comes into kind of like Battlefield and Battleborn and Overwatch and like there's nothing wrong with the run and gun style. In fact, that's really what Call of Duty has kind of moved towards. Did I make it
Hmm.
more crooked? No,
You're slightly to the left.
that's what she said.
Zing. Serve the curve. Oh, night.
There we go. All right, so as I was
Beautiful.
saying, basically, yeah, a lot of nights I would just come over and be like, okay, so you're playing like this, but your thinking was wrong because you should have said to yourself, okay, so that guy's over there and he seems to be coming around at me from one side, but he might circle back. So what decision do I make? Neither. As Frank Underwood would say, flip over the table, move backwards. That way, either way he comes at you from, you've moved back, you've taken cover, you're ready for him either way if he comes at you. And it was just, that was also a fun process of like, just kind of getting to know each other through examining how we thought as gamers. And even that transferred to Battlefield, but you were actually the one who started to school me because you taught me about the
Long distance
arc,
sniping.
yeah, the arc of sniping because I was just like, I don't think you can hit people that far, and you were just like, watch, I've been hitting them, and I was just like, holy shit,
Oh
teach
God.
me. And
I remember
then,
some of our distances in that were like 900 meters, like fucking insane.
oh, I hit 1,000 at some point. Shut up, train. And I mean, like, eventually, yeah, like, I was just kind of, we kind of started tipping each other, and
Yeah.
even my sister got involved with that. But, so, that kind of was, both of those games were a large portion of our friendship, especially when you moved out of Columbus like a son of a bitch, and we were playing Battlefield 3, at a distance instead, and basically, a lot of this also boils down to the fact that they're pushing for a new Call of Duty. They're pushing, out another Battlefield shortly, especially with E3 around the corner. It'd be sad if Call of Duty waited till E3 at this point. They should just reveal it sooner and then show gameplay
When is
at
E3?
First, second week of June, so
Okay.
a
a month.
bit over a month. But yeah, so both of us have basically disconnected from these games, and there's a lot to unpack here, and so I'm gonna let you take some of this over and see where the conversation goes.
I mean, I guess I don't know if we should compare them. Just talk about
Say what you
mechanics in general.
say what you want to say because
Okay.
sometimes we get a bit too off the idea that this should be just a conversation.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, so
As we talk about, these games dropping, new games, another Call of Duty, another Battlefield, based on previous experiences, the new Call of Duty, I really could care less about. I really couldn't care less about it. There we go, I did it right. Just because, when Black Ops was a 3 that just came out, we played it and we're just like, there's nothing too new about it.
It was still too formulaic. They were trying to insert these things to make it feel fresh, but everything at its core was still just what Call of Duty had become.
Yeah, just a reiteration of itself, trying to add some new elements that never really completely changed the gameplay. Like when they added the parkour in it, you're like, okay. Like at first I thought it'd be great, but because played it and it wasn't.
well, you saw these trailers where it was just such fluid movement. You're getting the kills while you're moving. None of that was happening, or at least not within the first weeks of its gameplay. We jumped in, I think, 3 weeks after the game had been released, and I didn't see anybody changing their mechanics. I could probably look up a video. I'm fairly confident.
There's always, whatever game you look up, there's always someone that's mastered something special about
they're being meta. They're doing things that are on the cutting edge. However, most of the time people are going to be sticking to the core because we could recognize that the core of the game was still there. Cluttered 3-lane maps with weapons that have no recoil.
And not a whole lot of pretty surroundings, but not usable surroundings, which I guess would kind of add into the clutter. Go ahead.
I don't wanna.
But Call of Duty always seemed to lack after playing Battlefield 3
or even Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, we played Black Ops. We enjoyed Black Ops 2. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They were enjoyable. Like, buttons go again. Fuck it, whatever. What I loved about Battlefield was the class systems. The recon, medic, assault. I forget the other one. It was like one was like explosives. It was just like
heavy.
Heavy. It's like when we played through those. Like I played through each and every one of those. I mastered the recon. I was up there. I had like the weapons. I had. I don't know, all the attachments to like so many weapons. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna try doing the medic, and played with that. And like it was just, there were so many, though, that changed your gameplay style, like with every different, what's the word, field or whatever you want to call it.
But there's something. So I like how you're kind of talking about Battlefield 3 because we didn't play Battlefield 4.
No.
Partially due to how poorly it ran on PS3. However, even in the beta, it could easily be recognized that the formula kind of changed, where it was just like there were some pretty dramatic shifts in how you played, and it was more about some outlandish plays, riding, crashing a helicopter into the building, getting out of the helicopter right as it crashes, planting the bomb, and you make the win for the team. It became more about the big plays as opposed to enjoying the experience, where it was just like team win as opposed to these kind of personal experiences.
Right.
And I've never really said that I'm a Call of Duty player. I'm a Battlefield player because I think we came in at these integral experiences where Modern Warfare 2 was so cleverly crafted compared to its its predecessor really set the groundwork. That is undeniable, but the ones that followed, any of the Treyarch or Sledgehammer or what have you iterations, the new Infinity Ward, because for those who don't know, the existing Infinity Ward is not the Infinity Ward that made Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. Surprise! Anyway.
Spoiler alert.
And then you look at Battlefield, and it's not the same situation. But what they chose to do with the game from there, what they chose to do with the series from there, just wasn't the same experience. There was something pure and raw about the first experiences that made them better. Yeah. And I can't help but look at what they're... so, like, Battlefield 4, we can't comment on as much, but then you have Battlefield Hardline, not appealing, where it's just, like, again, it's more about this spectacle. And Battlefield 3 was a lot of spectacle. But yeah, like it's just like cranes are crashing into buildings, and you're
They
like,
did a good job of that, though.
I mean, it did, but it's
Yeah.
just like you're fucking robbers, and there's almost like this disconnect in the story in and of itself, where it's just like super cops versus super robbers, and it's just like, well, we played Payday, and.
Yeah.
And what I really want to hone in on is just kind of like both of these series, which I don't think even compete anymore. They compete in the sense that all games compete, in the sense that they take up mind share. It's just like they release at the same time. But you look at Battlefield, it does not compete with Call of Duty. Halo is a closer competitor. It's like they're completely different experiences. And I can't help but now connect this to Overwatch, which you have no experience with, and Battleborn, which you have minute experience with. And these games are lumped together as competitors. At their core, they are basically... Overwatch is a hero shooter where there is no AI involved, and I'm going to turn this down and make sure that it doesn't turn down on the recording, because this static is giving me a massive headache, and I need to eventually fix the static in my headphones, but that doesn't come through on the recording, so we're fine! It's fine. Listen, PETA, it's fine.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. The static will go away.
So Overwatch takes a lot of what Team Fortress did, where it's just like there are these classes and these heroes, and there are, different kinds of heroes within the classes that do, very much the same thing, but counter each other in very unique ways. And they basically put them in an arena, and it's much easier to get kills where you're shooting people in the head and they die. And there's capturing the objective, and I'm fairly certain in Overwatch there are 2 game modes where it's capturing the objective and killing each other. And that's fine for those who want to play that, but Battleborn is very much closer to the MOBA side of things, where it's just like, most of the characters aren't even shooting. Like, I think only 30% of the characters are actually shooting guns. And they are very... I don't want to say tanky, because... one, I hate putting a Y on tank, because that makes it sound so effeminate. And that's fine if you want to be a feminine tank, but, like, tank is very much this word that just makes you sound like a tank, and putting a Y on it. But anyway, the characters soak up a lot more damage. And so, like, when you get the kill, you're just like, you really fought for it, and it's, like, there's something fulfilling about that. And that's not to say that Overwatch isn't fulfilling, but Overwatch is fulfilling in the sense that, like, okay, I killed that guy, and then I killed that guy, and then I got out of there, or I got a triple kill, and then I died, but I got that triple kill. And Overwatch is kind of closer to Call of Duty with hero elements, and Battleborn is closer to a MOBA with heroes, because MOBAs have heroes, but with a lot more first-person elements that Borderlands did so well. And the reason I want to bring these two other games...
I'm waiting for this to all kind of come in together here.
This is where it coalesces. I think Battlefield and Call of Duty are starting to struggle to maintain their mind share. Battlefield is trying to skew in a different direction, where it's just like, you're not a military douche anymore, kind of, maybe. We'll see, like we kind of brought that back with Battlefront. I don't really know. And Call of Duty, they seem to be reaching for these elements that are kind of outside their wheelhouse. Military shooter, very close to home, like we do in modern day. You're fighting Russia, you're fighting, South America for some reason, because they have so much military power. And and now, as I've talked about, when it comes to Battleborn and Overwatch, we're starting to see these MOBA-like, hero-like elements coming onto console. at last. We saw that with Smite. Smite was kind of one of the first to do this, but there are other games that are and have done it. Mm-hmm. But these are the big names, the big contenders, and of course, yes, they're competing because they hold they basically are within the same month. I think Overwatch is on the 25th, Battleborn is on the 3rd. God, I can't wait. And and it would not shock me. So Call of Duty has kind of revealed itself to be more in the future. Mm-hmm. It even sounds like space future, where there are settlements, and kind of relates to Titanfall, where there's this conflict with the outlying settlements and the core, government. And yet it wouldn't shock me if it wasn't so generic as just... you have classes, or you have, loadouts, and you just sort through your loadouts, and you go and you fight in kind of what might be zero gravity, what might be not zero gravity, and might even summon mech suits, because Titanfall, that's also a competitor to Call of Duty, but we'll just focus on Battlefield and COD, since those were in our wheelhouse for such a nice amount of time. And I could totally see Call of Duty taking kind of these hero elements.
You think so?
Yes. Here's the reason why. Everyone in Call of Duty is technically a fucking superhero. No soldier just realistically, and that's part of the video game, I get it, but no soldier realistically runs around and just fucking, I just killed like 6 dudes.
Yeah.
Most soldiers spend a lot, at least within our representation of shows and videos on the web and Hollywood, spend a lot of time in cover and a lot of time, just firing suppressive fire. Mm-hmm. But that's not what you do in Call of Duty. You are by all intents and purposes a Hollywood blockbuster superhero. Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, run in and just as you're floating through the air like some kind of super ninja.
Yeah.
And to bring those elements over, where it's just now you and they even kind of did this in the last one. What was the last one?
Call of Duty?
Yeah, what was it called?
I don't fucking know.
Was it Black Ops 3? It was Black Ops 3.
Yeah, that's the most recent one.
Yeah, that's the most recent one. You basically kind of honed in on this class. And maybe...
to back up your hero point and Hollywood point, didn't they bring in, was it Sam Worthington was the voice?
Who?
The main character in Call of Duty Black Ops?
In Black Ops 3, they had... Wow, I love this show. House of Cards.
Kevin Spacey.
Thank you, Kevin Spacey. I think was kind of the government guy or the bad guy.
I could have swore that Sam Worthington. You know who that is, right? He was in Avatar and Terminator: Salvation.
It wouldn't shock me.
Not Salvation. Terminator. Was it Salvation? I don't know. But I believe he did anyways. He did a voice of, I think it was the main character in one of the Call of Duty games. It's just they kind of backs up your theory that they're going to be coming in with these hero type elements possibly.
Well, this also circles around to the idea of team based play in the campaign as opposed to just you're one guy throughout the whole thing. I always feel a sense of freshness from playing as multiple characters and seeing the character I played as, at my side or at my 6 or out in front. And, even maybe going through a struggle, he gets his arm blown off and I got to rush up there and grab him and, get him back into cover. And, 5 separate hero classes represented as a team of 5 in a Call of Duty campaign, I think could be really helpful. So I've been talking on this for a bit, and the idea of bringing these elements into Call of Duty and Battlefield, and how it might not even be this iteration, but it wouldn't shock me. And I have other points I want to touch on, but I want to kind of hear where your thoughts at, not only just on what I said, but just in general.
I just feel like Call of Duty has been, they've found a formula and it works.
No, it doesn't.
And well,
They,
there's in the sense that they're successful, they're making money, people still buy it,
yes.
people still play it. Whether people like it or not, whatever. But it
Well,
works. in
well,
general.
one thing I did not complete before I wanted to get you talking. In Black Ops 3, you technically chose classes. You had access to tons
Yeah.
of weapons, you had access to all the gear, but, like, you had a super move,
It
basically.
just didn't seem like very differentiated.
No,
Oh.
no, it didn't. But,
Yeah.
again, it's kind of just a lean towards that,
Yeah.
where it's just like you have... this super move, you basically charge up and then you activate, and it's very potent, or it should be. And it's a lean.
I don't see. I don't know how I feel about it though. Like I said because Battlefield. From what I've read on it, they're thinking it's going to be like either World War One, World War Two oriented, and I would really love to see that. Because,
And I've been referencing Call of Duty. I do want to make clear
Yeah.
that I don't. There is an element that I will bring up when it comes to Battlefield. However, we'll get to that in a second. So please.
Yeah, no, like I feel like with these Call of Duty games, they evolve to a certain point where it's like sure weapons become slightly more futuristic, or you go from your Modern Warfare, which was now stuff, to Black Ops 3, which was probably I think sometime in the future. So it's just like it kind of like these slow evolution through iteration to get to where it is, and I don't think that's going to change. I think they're gonna like maybe they might have a little bit more pizzazz with like their special features in this next one since it's more futuristic, but overall gameplay I don't feel like it's gonna change it. Whatever they do is gonna change that. So that's why I'm just kind of over Call of Duty and what it has to do now. But
Well, that's part of the problem. Why they've kind of been branching out into these things like, well, here's kind of some specialization. Here's parkour, kinda, because they are losing sales. Like
Yeah.
that's actually
they are for a fact. Like I mean, is it just losing?
basically here's what happened. Year over year, Call of Duty was selling more and more, and then
Right.
they stopped reporting that it was So that was with Ghosts or the iteration before Ghosts.
Which I think is
and-
Black Ops 2.
Was it?
Who knows?
Anyway, it doesn't. No, Advanced Warfare.
Okay.
Advanced Warfare, Ghosts, and then Black Ops 3. And I'm fairly certain they didn't say anything about Black Ops 3's sales outside of it's very successful and we moved
Really?
a lot of retail copies and things like that.
Of course.
And I should have looked it up, so please don't hold it against me because no, I didn't look it up. And Call of Duty is wildly successful still by any
Absolutely.
standard. Like even if their sales are dipping, but that is their end goal to once again improve the sales and bolster themselves. And here's where I think that we might even see elements of these hero battles or MOBAs slip into Battlefield as well as Call of Duty. I don't think the idea of leveling through the match is lost on these games, where let's use Battlefield as the example. So you experience the MOBA leveling system both through Dead Star and the Battleborn beta.
Yes.
Mark is foreign basically to a lot of MOBA concepts, but both of those games helped to drive some of the concept
Yeah,
home.
and it was interesting, and I liked it. It works for the game really well too, because when you're coming in, you don't know exactly what's going on. Like it just works. Like it's nice, it's refreshing, it's new. You're not under the mercy of a level that you are, whether you're 1 or 50. That's nice, but I don't know if I'd want to see that in a Battlefield game.
Well. Here's where I see it basically. I feel you somewhat, but I think that I like Battlefield. We were watching Stone Mountain Unit 64 videos this weekend, playing mostly Battlefield 3.
Some Battlefield 4 and
Some Battlefield 4, some Division, but what really hit home for us was that Battlefield 3. And This large expanse and this progression through 3 sets of objectives kind of, again, has... It wasn't founded in MOBA. Battlefield has done that for some time.
Yeah.
But it's not foreign to MOBA either, because you basically progress through a set of objectives.
Sure.
To win the match, or lose it if you let the enemy progress through a set of objectives.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but feel like you could start each match in Battlefield being like, okay, I have these 5 perks or 6 perks, and after we progress to the next set of objectives, we get to unlock a set of perks or something like that, where it's just like, okay, now I have... let's not go with the mortar because... let's go with the mortar. Mortar was
like
equipable.
mortar, and then mortar distance can change. Like,
yeah, so
like
some basically you have these unlocks. Like, you unlock calling in an AC-130. I think that's still, I think
that would be interesting.
Having kill streaks in Battlefield would be quite nice, or level streaks, or whatever you want to call them, where it's just like these elements that reset each match, but you can get them and progress through them and use them over set periods of time to make the Battlefield more diverse and more involved in more like a battlefield. And I think that would be very cool, to call an AC-130, and that AC-130 could be shot out of the air by the jets that you can just walk up to and get in.
Yeah.
But I think that these elements coming to console is a progression of the life cycle of MOBAs, where it's just like they were young because they were only PC involved, and now they're coming to console, and we can start to see them trickle into other games. Like Call of Duty has so many RPG elements now,
right?
And Battlefield could benefit from some of these too. They don't have to. But I do think that even Battlefield is losing some mind share, because it's just like your PS4 and 3 versions sucked.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well Hardline did, but I do know a lot of the press was just kind of like, yeah, it's cool.
It's kind of ho-hum seemed about it.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and actually, like, when you describe it that way, I think that would be kind of interesting. Battleborn had fucking 12 tiers, 10 tiers,
10 levels. You unlock something at each level, and then each match it resets, and that also, coming back to kind of Call of Duty and Battlefield, evens the playing field. Yes, you should still unlock weapons and equip higher level weapons that you have spent time in the game to unlock. I think that kind of shit should not be lost in Call of Duty or Battlefield, because those are kind of their wheelhouse, as I keep saying. But to be able to come in at level 5 and be like, I play this class really well, and to outclass someone who is at 45 by going 2 levels up on them and unlocking something that changes the battlefield, that I think is pretty big.
Maybe they only did it like 4 levels, Like, I think, like, what I liked about
Battlefield, it doesn't have to be 10 levels, 20 levels, like 3 or 5.
Yeah, it was very just kind of down to earth. It was, if you wanted to, sit back and snipe, you had a nice calm game going for you for the most part, or you could be a support class and just like blow shit up and
rush in a tank.
Yeah, and I think, if, a sniper had, 10 class levels, like, it's just like, okay, what's the point? What are you gonna do with it? Like 3 or 4,
Yeah, yeah. Like things that actually change the game, not like your shots are 3% more accurate. No, fuck that. Like things that actually the sniper can can laser designate an area and it gets bombed. Like that might be their ultimate, or like they have at level 3 they have like 3 selections. One is the airstrike. I don't know what the others would be. I haven't really sat on this too long, but coming into this, that was the thought. It was just like, man, like that was something that was always missing. These kinds of like, you just got something really cool by doing really well in Battlefield. Like,
well, and I guess that helps too, because typically in these games, if you got one guy that goes like 50-6, like he may not have much to show for it other than his KD ratio. Whereas, in a situation like this, if your team is down and the dude is doing 50-6, like he can turn around and have you guys actually win. And
also like, that appeal of like, look at how cool that was.
Yeah, exactly.
And, and
but
I
I just,
and I like pilots and shit,
mhm.
you know, and drivers of jeeps and stuff. But there's nothing wrong with being like that plane came from way over there and was moving at like Mach 5 and just
Yeah.
dropped bombs. Because
Yeah.
there was no carpet bombing in 3 or 4, not that I was
No,
aware of.
not in 3.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, three was pretty. I mean, it was all on the ground. It seemed like unless you found an airplane.
technically, you
Oh,
could do that with a helo, but I mean a real carpet bombing where it's just like
right.
fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
So
I just hope like even if they do something like that, I don't want battle. I'm gonna
no,
Battlefield to lose its differentiating class systems. Like it doesn't have to be the
yeah,
same as Battlefield 3, but just overall the idea that the recon class played entirely different than the support class,
yeah.
and that's the one thing that I loved, and that I will go back to. That I feel like Call of Duty, even though this last iteration started it, it still didn't really drive it home to how Battlefield did it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, like suddenly you should be some kind of goofy looking hero. I love the characters in Battleborn, and I like the characters of Overwatch. But, like these are more down to earth. However,
Sure.
it should still not be lost that you are some kind of superhero.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be shocked, because Titanfall also did this, if we saw AI on these battlefields. Maybe not in Call of Duty, but I think in Battlefield, this could be a thing, because basically Titanfall did, I think, 6v6 or 8v8
Yeah.
at its maximum. But then the rest of the Battlefield was like, there were like 3 AI per person, where they
Really?
would just run off and do their own thing, and you could get like AI kills on them, but they it didn't constitute a player kill.
Yeah.
And getting a player kill was much larger, basically. And
Kind of like in Battlefront, the which mode is that? The Fighter Squadron. If you're
Yep.
the one mode you're flying
The-
around, like there's only
there's some AI.
there's quite a bit of AI, and like I remember like
Actually, yeah, there's a ton of AI.
there's a lot. There's probably like a dozen AI and a dozen real players, and I remember like I killed so many people. I just only got like 5 kills. It's like because I got 10 AI kills too.
And even in Battlefield 4, like, obviously Battlefield 3, but even in Battlefield 4, what I experienced of it at least, and I think what you saw of it, there still was never that sense of, like, this is a real battle between 2 large factions. It was just kind of like
Right.
2 specialist groups.
Uh-huh.
And I think what it got up to 2 groups of 36, which was 18 versus 18. With AI, you could ramp that up to, like, probably a happy 26 versus 26 or 30 versus 30, where it's 18 versus 18, but then the rest is filled in by AI. And I think that would give it much more presence as far as a battlefield goes.
Well, I feel like the Battlefront kind of has done that with a few of their modes too, which is Dice, and hopefully they might carry over some of their aspects into the new Battlefield.
Yeah.
Battlefront, Battlefield. 'Cause it was 20v20 in some of those matches. Total 40 people, like actual people, and you kind of do get the feeling that there's like a big fucking war going on. Because like the maps are huge, like there's just a lot going on.
Yes, in in Battlefront, some of them, but like in the dogfight, even in Battlefield.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
That was just like,
didn't-
I'm gonna fly into this swarm, and then I might get some kills, and then I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I think those dogfights really need some work. In fact, if the dogfights could somehow be involved over battlefields, that would be even better, or even near or adjacent to. That'd be cool.
Like you're playing Fighter Squadron, but right beneath you is a blast battle, and if you want, you can just fly down and kill people.
Or
kinda cool.
like you're fighting on a peninsula, and
Yeah.
out over the ships is the dogfight going on, and the dogfight can even take out ships. Not that those would be happening within the same instance. That's a lot of processing, and if
Yeah.
we're being realistic, that shouldn't happen. But like if like there was an aesthetic to that, where it's just like, that's the dogfight, and I'm in the dogfight, and that's the battlefield. Ah!
What's going on?
Yeah, like that'd be cool.
So kind of like bring it back around, like between like Call of Duty and Battlefront, Battlefield,
Both.
Battlefield. This kind of innovation is something that I would see much more prevalent and probably just be more likely to happen with Battlefield. Battlefield, not Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty is just going to try to stick with the same kind of recipe over and over and over again.
I don't think so. I think we've seen
Really?
too much. We've seen too much iteration within the past. Okay, so we've seen iteration since Modern Warfare 2. Like, they just keep
Absolutely.
kill streaks, and now it's 3-lane maps, and that's their structure, and it's cluttered maps, and so sniping's more of a quick scope kind of deal a lot of the time, and now they're just trying to pepper in these things that try and make it different and fresh. I think that will. I think Call of Duty is the more likely of the two candidates to try some of these elements we discussed here. It wouldn't shock me if Call of Duty is the first of the two to be like, we're taking 2 years off, and we're refining our engines, we're refining our combat, and could even come back with a lot of these elements where it's just like, this is how you're going to fight, and it's going to be different. You can select loadouts, but you actually level through your loadout throughout the match. So instead of starting with a frag grenade, you upgrade to your incendiary grenade at level 2.
Yeah.
I like the advent of Battleborn and Overwatch and what they can represent to consoles and just all gaming in general. Especially because both of them are from a first-person perspective compared to the overview third-person perspective of MOBAs on PC.
Well, maybe even, that could be the next step in the evolution of first-person shooters, is it's not going to be your Battlefields and your Call of Duties.
That's kind of what I've been thinking.
Yeah, like, the next step might be more of the Battleborn and Overwatch style.
These might be, Overwatch and Battleborn might be the ones that give Call of Duty the kick in the nuts this year to say, like, stop it. and they
different.
And they pause, and they're just like, okay, it's time. We're just going to stop, and we're going to innovate like we used to.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to be the ones to take years off. I don't think either company is, because
Assassin's Creed just did it. Like, they just decided we're taking a year off, and that's a good sign, I think.
That's admirable, because then you kind of realize, hey, something's not working. We need to fix it before we keep reiterating.
And supposedly their sales were dipping as well. So, again, Call of Duty not losing any money. Like, they're still doing just fine, but
they're just not getting as much as they used to.
Exactly. So, and when they really hit, what they hit with was innovation. And they innovated shooters in many senses. And I think that potential is still there. They're just too busy going with a money-making formula, which business is business, and call it art as much as you want. Even, artists want to make a living.
Well, and we're in such a era right now of, we want, like, not maybe you and I, but like people, society wants these iterations, and once it starts, it's really hard to stop that from happening. Like, look again, Apple iPhones. It's like every year now something's expected, where iPhone, iPad, something new is going to come out, and it
might even be coming into a time where consoles start iterating. Hopefully,
yeah, exactly.
Not at such interval.
These technologies, and it's like society gets used to that. These products coming out every year, and it's just like now, with all these different Call of Duty reiterations between Black Ops, Modern Warfare, etc., it's just like you're used to it. Every year something coming out. So it's like, to take 2 years off, I wonder if a lot of people would just be like, what the fuck? Why? Where's our game? I don't. But if they come out and say, oh, we're going to try to, redo everything, I feel like there are still people out there that are completely fine with the way it's played and the way it looks, and they would be pissed about it. And I don't know if they want to really, abandon that fan base.
There's also something to unpack there as well. This game is going to be called Infinite War, supposedly. There has also been an argument for games like Madden, Call of Duty, FIFA, hockey game, whatever, to stop iterating and start just, this is the game, and maybe every year or 2 years we'll have a super large expansion, and in between there's small expansions like we just do now. So instead of going out each year and buying the new iteration, there's a subscription model, or maybe like Destiny, it's like now you buy the $60 version again, and it upgrades everything you've already done. And Infinite War kind of has a large suggestion to it, unending. And if there was any way to take a break, it would be with a game that they have a model to last for a couple to a few years.
Basically, a game comes out and it's going to have, DLC for the next 2 years, something like that.
That's what Destiny is attempting to do, and at the very least, you have to say that there are still Destiny players and people talking about Destiny. So
absolutely.
They're in.
I see it every day when I'm on PS4.
Yeah, there is success. So I won't be one among them, but I could see games doing that I would think about jumping into that model. I'm not against it, and man, that would be perfect timing to be like, okay, here's Infinite War, and it's going to last for 3 years, and, it's going to have, these expansions, and these expansions will bring this, and we're already working on them, so that, they're coming, and they will be within this time frame. We won't give you an exact date, because that's dumb, but, we're gonna attempt to do this right, and I don't think that's going to be the case at all,
no.
But... I think it would still be a year or 2 or 3 before we would see Call of Duty be like, okay, we're gonna stop now. Bye.
Well, even if hypothetically, if they did that this year, then if Battlefield does make a World War I or World War II game, they're gonna really shoot themselves in the foot, because you can't really continue that for 3 years.
I don't think Battlefield would do that, and I'm taking this off because my headache is now just...
Yeah, I feel you. My head's, it's a little better, but I'm just tired now from taking all the drugs.
Yeah,
but,
so I think Battlefield is still even feeling itself out. Battlefield 3 was great, but if you look at the life cycle of what was Call of Duty, you had you had all those old warfare games, old World War II, bunch of World War II titles, and then they finally did Modern Warfare, and then they finally Modern Warfare 2 is where they really hit it.
Right.
That is undeniable, because then that's where they started iterating. They were just okay, it's yearly, and I think we haven't seen that point with Battlefield yet.
Right.
Where it's a Modern Warfare 2 battle. I mean, they're great games and they do awesome sales, but I don't think we've seen it yet. So there's some room,
point.
Especially with these World War games.
I think, Battlefield, it was just kind of bizarre to me, when Battlefield 4 was, announced, because I feel like we were still getting a lot of enjoyment out of Battlefield 3.
We were still
so, almost wondering if what happened was, they had such success with Battlefield 3, and then, then you had their competitor at the time, which was Call of Duty, coming out with these yearly or bi-yearly iterations, that DICE was just we need another one. Bring it out. And then,
they had said that they were going to, try to attempt to do such a thing, but I think chances are some player base was lost when it came from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4, because they did really...
It just seemed rushed.
Well, they really supported Battlefield 3. There was a ton of content for that game. And then to just come out with more and be it's starting fresh, I think that there was something, especially within us, there was something that was just
Something was weird. So, I think you're right, though. They tried that model, which was proven to be not so successful with Battlefield 3 and 4. Then since then, they've tried Hardline, and now Battlefield 5, which, if it's even called
technically Battlefront in between here and there.
And Battlefront, yeah. So, it's you might be right. I think you're right, though. They haven't hit that stride where they need to, keep succeeding. But I think that's okay, because that then gives them time to innovate a little bit more with their type of shooter they're trying to produce.
And I do hope they innovate, add more system, not less.
Right.
Because Battlefront was, and I understand why Battlefront was more simplistic, because you're appealing to such a large audience.
Right.
So many casual players. But No, Battlefield isn't something you strip. That's something you add to. I still, even in my gut, feel like Battlefield 3 could have benefited from more system, not less. You're not just picking a class; you're picking something else along with that class. Sure. Even if it's a level system, I think that level system would be cool. Where each game come into it as a fresh soldier, and you got 10 kills, and so they give you a promotion, and that gets you 2 levels up. Whereas somebody else didn't get as many kills, they still got a level, and that gains you advantages.
That'd be kind of cool to see that. Damn it, my throat.
Progression, yes. You progress through the battlefield. I feel like you should also maybe progress a bit as a soldier, So I think that's going to wrap it up for us because I think we're both losing our shit. So.
Yeah, at some point we're going to just kind of talking in circles, but yeah.
No, I think that was really cool. I think we got some good stuff out of that, like some neat concepts. Nobody's going to watch this, and they're certainly not going to change the plans for Call of Duty or Battlefield based on what we said here. But it wouldn't shock me if some of these ideas translate.
Yeah, absolutely not. And what we'd like to see out of both franchises, what we didn't like about both franchises. Blah, blah, blah.
I mean, a lot of it boils down to too much iteration and too much just trying to shove it down our throats.
Yeah.
Even me as a hardcore player, I like.
You're just like enough already.
Yeah, I put a lot into some of my games, so it's like.
Yeah.
We'll see. You can't deny that the crowds are there, so.
Right.
Mark.
We'll find out this month.
It's been a good one. I liked this episode, even though we both felt like crap. I'm
just so tired. I don't know why.
It happens. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you in the next episode, guys. Still working on those audio issues, so only GSM and 0 frames per second within the coming weeks. I'll be getting back to State of the Frame, of course, and Digital Distance, and probably even starting a Battleborn show up within the coming month. So stay tuned. Appreciate those of you out there watching.
Yes. Goodbye, Internet. Do good things.